Welcome to the Courage Barbell Unlimited podcast with your host, legendary powerlifter and strength athlete, Chad Ikes. For most, the journey of strength starts in the gym, but should inevitably expand through all aspects of life. Join us as we discuss all things strength. Now, here's your host, Chad Ikes.
Welcome back to another episode of The Quotes. Tonight, I'm going to talk about a Carl Jung quote, which is actually pretty similar to a couple quotes I did on a past episode not too long ago. But I just wanted to talk about this one too, because I think it's such a big problem in our society, and I think our society is actually making it worse these days, because instead of promoting people to actually look inside themselves and actually dig deep, we're just like, oh, if you feel this, do that. Like, everyone should feel great. Everyone should be happy. Everything should be awesome. And that's just not life. And that's not how we figure out who we are. Like, I really don't think that our feelings and emotions are necessarily who we are. They're just a part of who we are. And a lot of times they'll kind of lead us astray, because those feelings and emotions can come from really tragic, I guess, things inside of us that have happened to us. And they end up leading our whole life one way because we won't look into ourselves. And I think this actually is something that should probably be taught in school to some extent. So probably if you listen to me, I don't know how many Carl Jung quotes I've done, but I really like a lot of his philosophies and the way he looked at things. This quote is, "People will do anything, no matter how absurd, in order to avoid facing their own soul." And man, this is so true. And I see it in so many aspects of life. You know, this whole podcast started with physical strength, so let's start there. I can't tell you how many lifters I know that will let their emotions rule how their training goes, and they basically use lifting as a way to deal with life. And again, what little bit about this world and myself that I know came from making mistakes. So I've done this. I would have never became one of the best powerlifters of my time if I had not recognized this problem and went down that huge rabbit hole of learning myself. I would have just kept lifting like I was, and I would have made no progress. And I would have continued to deal with everything in my life through the gym. And I see the same thing, you know, people that drink every night. There's stuff going on inside that they just don't want to recognize. People that, you know, they'll find, like you said, they'll find anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid actually dealing with the shit that's going on inside them. And the funny thing is that, yeah, it's hard. It's hard to deal with the stuff inside of you. It's hard to go into your past and relive all these things that hurt so bad. But it's honestly less painful than living a whole life that's messed up dealing with shit. I mean, people that keep going into abusive relationships and they claim they can never find anyone, and, you know, people that stay at jobs that are absolutely horrible that they hate because they're too afraid to leave. And it goes on and on and on, the things that people will do to avoid actually looking inside themselves, looking in their soul, and how do they really feel? Like, so many people are convinced that they feel one way, when if they really went inside and figured out what's going on, they probably would find out that that's not really how they feel. I mean, I can tell you lots of stories of me as a kid where because I was hurt and because I was angry, I felt a certain way. And once I dealt with that stuff, it's like, wow, it's totally different. I feel totally different than I did before. I feel totally different about a lot of things than I did before. And that's a good feeling. That's a good feeling. It's such a good feeling because you had to go through that shit to get there. So being afraid of doing that and doing all these absurd things actually doesn't even make sense, because you're going to feel so much better on the other end. And sometimes the stuff's not as bad as you think it is. And you go back into it and you figure out that, hey, I remember this thing that happened when I was a kid, and I remember feeling this, and I thought this, and I reacted like this, and I'm still fucking reacting like that. But you look back at that situation, which was once through a child's eyes, now you're looking at it through an adult's eyes, and you're like, huh, that really wasn't that bad, and my reaction probably wasn't exactly right to that. And all of a sudden, like, you just have this weight that just releases from you. But if you wouldn't have taken the time to recognize this and think about it and go through it and rationalize it as an adult, you're stuck. You're stuck making these decisions, feeling these emotions based on something that you really didn't even have the right grasp on. You know, you had the grasp of a child, yet you're letting your adult life function by this. And I mean, it goes down so many different paths. I mean, people that grew up without ever having decent people in their lives and without ever having anyone really show them love. And so now because as a kid, you got to deal with what you deal with, and you learn how to adjust it, and you do what you got to do to get through it. But if you don't go back and work on that, you know, you wired yourself to maybe think that love was this when that's not love at all. But that's all you had, so you associated that as love. And if you never go back and go, wait a minute, I got to reprogram. Like, I saw that wrong. This is actually love. You're just going to keep running into the same thing over and over and over. And when we don't remember our past, we're destined to repeat it. If you remember it, you can notice it. And you got to do that by going into yourself. You got to remember things. You got to go over things. And that's not something that ever stops. That's something that you do the rest of your life. I analyze things that happened a week ago sometimes. I analyze things that I may have said just recently, or I analyze things I said before. I mean, even in strength training, like what I taught 5 years ago, I've modified. It's different now. And maybe I may keep it, and when I realize is like, hey, this works, but this only works for this group of people in this time. But it's not giving me the result I want for people that have moved past that, or people that are at a different age, or whatever. Like, it's always changing. And that's one of the reasons a lot of times some of the best people are the older people, because they've been through more. They've got more tools in their toolbox. They've experienced more. And a lot of times they understand that they're not going to figure it all out. And their goal is no longer to know everything. Their goal is to learn faster, to adapt, overcome, figure out the situation as quickly as possible. So I just think this is another cool quote. I think we could all be so much better and have so much better lives and do better jobs of reaching our goals if we would start with the foundation of figuring out who we are and getting ourselves right, and then moving forward. And I just had another thought that dawned on me. A lot of people, I hear people say, I need to work on myself. And so they try to throw everything else around them away. And I don't know that that's the answer. I don't think you have to throw everything away. I think it's a matter of having the right people around you. I think it's a matter of taking the time to first see who you are. And if you recognize you need to change things in yourself or you need to know yourself better, then you need to recognize the people around you. If you're continually, so say in strength training, if you're an athlete who like, okay, I want to get stronger. Like I'm not in here to beat the crap out of myself. I'm not in here to deal with my personal problems. I want to get stronger. Well, if you're surrounding yourself with a bunch of lifters that are just dealing with their own problems through the gym, they're probably not going to be the best people for you to be around. You're going to be better off trying to find people that also want to be athletes there and that go, hey, I understand you want to clear all this other stuff out so you can be successful here. I support that because there's a lot of times where you can go over things in your head. And I think I'm pretty good at being honest with myself and seeing things myself. But there's a lot of times where I've went to see a therapist or I've asked friends about this, or I have some friends that are very into this aspect of making themselves better and looking into themselves. So I have those friends to talk to and I can go, hey, here's the situation. You know, this is what happened to me and I'm looking at it like this. What do you think? And then you can get a true outside perspective. But again, you got to have those right people around you. You can't have the guy that goes, yeah, whatever, dude, just do your fucking set, man. I don't care how tired you are. Get the fuck under the bar. Like, you need the person that goes, no, this is important. You do need to do this. And here's my honest opinion, what you need to do. Even if they know that's not what you want to hear. And that's a very tough thing. It's a tough thing to tell people the absolute truth. But your true friends will do that for you. And if you want to be a true friend, you'll do that to other people, for other people. So that's just another little side note on that one. Thanks for listening. Please follow Chad Ikes on Instagram. I post a lot of different stuff. I'm testing some stuff with my lifting, so I'm not lifting quite as much right now. Not hardly at all, honestly. But I'm getting good results. I post a lot of my photography. I post a lot of quotes on there. I try to post a lot of stuff kind of like this, little short, minute and a half ones. So please check that out. Please share that with other people you think would like that. Go to Courage Barbell YouTube channel, which I need to get some new videos up on. Go to couragebarbell.com and pick up some apparel. And until next time, I hope you guys come and listen again, and I will see you later.
Thanks for listening to the Courage Barbell Unlimited podcast. For more information, please visit couragebarbell.com. Until next time.